Hey, Boker Tov, today's Daf is Daf Ayin Beis in Nidrim. We'll start again from the 4 lines, which is actually halfway down Ayin Aleph Amud Beis, just to see the question. What's the question? If a person, we're talking about an aris now, because once a person is fully married to a woman and he divorces her, and then he remarries her, let's say, not a Kohen, he can't break an eder from before they got married. So here we're talking about by an aris. So where you have a father and a fiance, and the fiance divorces her. He decides he's not happy, he doesn't want to go through with the marriage after he said it kadeshiously. He needed a divorce after Harrison. Is divorcing, and then he takes her back. We'll see. By divorcing her, is that like he didn't do anything? And if he takes her back that same day after he heard about it, he could still break it? Or no, divorcing, because he knows that once he divorces her, he can't break it. So it's like if he waits till the next day, as we said before, if the husband or the father heard about it and they waited till the next day, it's already confirmed. You can't break it anymore. So over here, when he divorced her, he also knows once he divorced her, he can't break it anymore. So effectively, by divorcing her, he's confirming it. That's the question. Is it like doing nothing? And if he takes her back that day, he could marry her again. Not only him, somebody else also. As we said, we could have 100 arises, right? Neil didn't like 100, so let's do 2 or 3, right? So he bought a little garish and kashtika dami, or is it like confirming? By divorcing her, he's actually confirming it. Minaf kamina, as we said, go chenadar b'shama bala. She made an eder. The husband heard about it, the fiance heard about it. The gershon, he divorced her that day. Bahadrabim, he took her back that day. If he took her back the next day, for sure it's confirmed already, because once you wait a day, it's over, right? If you say it's like he didn't do anything, he was just quiet, he didn't do anything, and it's still the same day, maybe he can still break it when he takes her back. Why can he take her back? Because we're still talking about the husband can break his share together with the father. Talking about an aris, right? Don't forget, if she's no longer an ara, if she's a bogeres, the father's out of the picture, and he can't break it, he can only break it, and aris only can break it with the father. So we're talking about if she's a nara and there's a father involved. So if it was like he didn't do anything and he took her back that day, made up with the family, and he got married to her again, he could break. But if you say that it's like confirming it, because when he divorced her, it's like waiting the next day. It's like saying, well, she's not going to have a divorce, or he knows he's not going to be able to break it once they're divorced if he doesn't take her back. So if it's like a kamadami, he can't break it. That's the question. The aris, the fiance divorces her and takes her back that day. Is divorcing like confirming it? He can't break it anymore or not? Tashma, we're going to see a proof now from the top of Ayin Beis Manal. We had this before. When do we say that if the fiance dies, the reshus, the authority goes down to the father, that he could break it on his own? Let's say he never heard about it. He never heard of the husband, the fiance never heard of he never heard of the vow at all, and he died. So the father could break the whole neder. The father's like he was before there was a fiance. Oh, Shama Veifer, or maybe he heard about it and he broke it. He heard about it and he broke it and he died now. The father could break his part. Oh, Shama Veifer. Oh, Shama Vishasak. Or he heard about it and he was quiet. Umeis Pogam, and he died that day. So in those cases, the father could still break it, because either the husband didn't hear about it, the fiance didn't hear about it, or he heard about it and he broke his share. Oh, Shama. And we said, even if you say that he dies, it's not broken anymore, but it doesn't make any difference. He's dead. It's like nothing. Oh, Shama, or but he didn't confirm it. Oh, Shama V'shasek Meis B'Yom, or he was quiet that day. If you say that divorcing is like also being quiet, why don't you say that case too? Listen, oh, Shama V'Girish, just say, or the fiance heard about it and he divorced her. If you're saying that divorcing is not like confirming, it's just like being quiet, so just say he heard about it and he divorced her. That's also a case where if he divorced her, the father now can break it on his own. Since you didn't say the case of Shama Girish, that it's mashma that the Girishin divorcing her is like confirming it. Otherwise, say that this is another case. Where's a case where if the husband dies, the father can now break it on his own, right? This girl who's up until before the age of 12 and a half, where either the fiance died without hearing about it, or he broke it, or he was quiet and died. Why don't you say also he heard about it and he divorced her? If that's also a case where the father can break it, the answer is no. Divorcing her is like being Mekayim. If either one of the father or the fiance confirmed it, that's it. You can't break it anymore. The other one can't break it. So why don't you say this case too? If Shama Begirish, if he heard about it is only like shtika, and the father could still break it if the husband's now out of the picture. If he divorced her or died, doesn't mean him. Once he divorced her, he's out of the picture. Why don't you say that case too, that the father gets the rishus elamites mashma? No, if he divorced her, it's like confirming. The Gemara says, no, you can't prove that. Why? Because aim is sefer. Look at the sefer. Avolim in the sefer of that brisa tells you the exact opposite. If the fiance heard about it and he confirmed it, or he was quiet, when he died the next day, he was quiet, and the next day is like confirming it. If you say the other way now, like we want to say that Gerushin must be confirming it based on the Reisha, listen, Nami, say also Im Shama V'Gerush, say also this case is the case where it's confirmed and father cannot break it anymore, right? If Shama V'Gerush he divorced her, and look Taniach since it ain't Shema Mina Gerushin Kashika. So from the Sefer he's mashma, since it wasn't included in the cases where it's confirmed and the father cannot break it once the husband's out of the picture. Since it's not there, you want to say that it's a mashma that Gerushin is kishtika, but from the Reishis mashma that Gerushin is ka'akama. In other words, the Reishis mashma one way, the same as mashma other, you can't prove anything. If the Reishis dafka and shtika is like hakama, it's like confirming it. So why wasn't it mentioned in the Seifa? Nasaf Seifa Mishum Reisha. So in the Seifa also wasn't mentioned. As if you want to make a diak and say, since it wasn't mentioned in the Reisha of things that where the father could break it, showing you that that Gerushin is like shtika. So then it wasn't mentioned in the Seifa also that of cases where that if you want to say it proves that shtika is like hakama, so it wasn't mentioned in the Seifa because it wasn't mentioned in the Reisha either. Or you Seifa dafka if you want to say the Seifa is dafka and shtika and the Gerushin is like shtika, not like hakama from the Reisha. It's mashma that shtika is like hakama. It should have been included there too. So since it wasn't included in the Reisha, therefore shtika is like hakama. So if you say the Reisha is dafka, the Seifa wasn't mentioned because it wasn't mentioned literally in the Reisha. In other words, he only wants to give the similar cases like the Ron explains. The cases in the Reisha of Lo Shama Baal or Shama V'Kayim or Shama Shtika. In other words, the cases in the Reisha are the reverse of the cases in the Seifa, or the Seifa is reverse of the Reishas. Since it wasn't mentioned Reisha, it wasn't mentioned Seifa. And if the Seifa is dafka, that the reason Hakama wasn't mentioned over there is why? Because Hakama is Kishtika, that Gerushin is like Kishtika, not Hakama Shtika, that Gerushin is like Shtika, so then it wasn't mentioned in the Reisha also because it wasn't mentioned specifically in the Seifa. So therefore you can't prove anything from that brisa. Tashma, let's bring another proof. Again, we're trying to prove if a man divorces if a fiance, divorces his wife, is that after he heard her neder, is that like hakama? Is that like confirming it because he knows once he divorced her, he can't break it? Or is it like he didn't say anything? And then after me be if he took her back that day, or somebody else took her back, the second guy, the third guy, whatever. Tashma. Nadar Arusa. Okay, this is the mission we had before. Let's say she made an neder while she was engaged. When it's Skarshin, she got divorced. When it's Arsabobium, she got remarried, re-engaged that day. Afilameya, even the 100 different people, Afilameya, all waiting that day. They can break Nidrim. So what do you see over here? Why? Because he divorced her here. You say he divorced her. What's our question? If you divorce your fiance, right, after you heard her neder, you divorce her, is that like confirming it? Or is it like doing nothing? Well, what did the Mishnah say? Our Mishnah we learned yesterday. Even if she got married 100 guys, the last guy with the father can break it. What do you mean can break it? He already divorced her. If the husband heard about it and divorced her, if you're saying that's hakama, that's like confirming it. You can't break it again afterwards. Again, Tashma, Nadavi, Arusa Naskashim, Sasa Rabbi Amfilamea, Aviobach, Shmam, and I gave you see the Gerushin is Kashtika dummy. Dika Kamada, it's like a comma, you must made for Orus Achron. How could the latter Orus break it? No, none of Orus can break it anymore. Nidri do Ukamarus Rishon. The latter guy can't break a neder that the first guy was Makayim. Speaking about where the Orus didn't hear about it. Our question is, when the Orus heard about it and he divorced her, is divorcing her like confirming it, or is it like doing nothing? Like being quiet till the next day would be like confirming it too, but he took her back that day. So here, no, it's speaking about Rishon. He didn't hear about it. If he didn't hear about it, why do you talk about getting remarried that day? If nobody heard about it, if a father and the Aris haven't heard the neder, when does the clock start ticking for hafara or hakama? When they heard about it. If she makes a neder and they heard about it 6 months later, that's when it starts sticking. So if the Aris didn't hear about it, why do you say, well, you got remarried that day, married the number 2, number 3, number 4, up to 100 people? It doesn't make any difference how many people. The latter guy could break it. What do you mean could break it? If they ever heard, why do you have to talk about breaking it that day? He could break it even days later when they heard about it. Even after 100 days later, if that's when they heard about it, that's when they heard about it. The answer is Shalosh Shama Aris for Shama. The father heard it. The clock starts ticking once one of them heard about it. Because once one of them heard about it, if he doesn't do anything by the next day, it's already Mekuyam, right? But when he heard about it, the father could break it together with the Aris, or whoever that Aris is. So in this case, what happened? The first Aris was engaged to her. The father heard, that's what we want to say now. The father heard it. Therefore, the clock started ticking. And the husband, the fiance divorced her, but took her back, or somebody else took her back, or 100 guys took her back, one after another. They divorced, married, divorced, engaged, divorced, engaged. And then we say the last guy could break it with the father. What about the Gerushin? The Gerushin, the question we're raising is, if the fiance heard about it and he divorced her, is that like confirming? But if he didn't hear about it, the divorce is not confirming. He didn't even know about it. You can't say it's confirming it if he didn't hear about it. Once the father heard about it, he can only break it that day. So again, we can't prove anything from that case. We're still looking for a proof. Tashma, Nadra bo b'yom. We're going to have a later mission which says like this. Let's say she made an error that day. Nadra rather. It's not, she made an error. Bo b'yom gir, she divorced her that day. B'yachzir bo b'yom, when he took her back that day. Ein yochalefer, can't break it. What does that show you? That Gerushin is like confirming it, because he says he married her. Nadra bo b'yom girsha. She made an error that day. He divorced her, and that day he took her back. V'chzir bo b'yom. Nadra bo b'yom girsha. V'chzir bo b'yom. Can't break it. Shema mina Gerushin kakamim. You see that Gerushin is like confirming it. And they're not talking about engaged. Our question is about an engaged, a fiance who divorced his wife after he heard her netter. Is that like confirming it, or is it like doing nothing? The nafkamina would be if he took her back that day, could he still break it or not? But over here, it's speaking of this case about a girl who's fully married. Once you're fully married, either the Ran says either the first time or the second time, either way, that's it. Once he divorced her after being fully married, of course he can't break it. Why? Behind the reason he can't break it, then a husband cannot break a netter that was made before the wife. And the Ran said before they got married. And the Ran explains, we'll see the Ran says later on, he gives a difficult shot on the base, that a husband can only, a fiance can only break it with the father. A husband can't break any netter that was made before they were married. So over here, Manavshach, if she was married before Nadra Bobim, the father was out of the picture. If she was married the first time, whatever her age was, even if she's 11 or 12, if she was married, fully married, the father's out of the picture. So only the husband's in the picture. And even if he took her back now, even if he only got engaged to her, we can't break it anymore. The father's out of the picture. And this is Neder B'Kodman. So therefore, the Ran says, take a look at the Ran 4 or 5 lines before the lines get wide. It could be it's like a shtika. She was either married the first time or the second time to the same girl, right? The same girl, either was married already or married second time. The first of the wide lines. It was if she was originally just engaged, and now she got married. He can't break it if he's fully married. That's why he say he's not able to break it. If she was the first time she was fully married, even this is when she was married, even if she's 11 years old, 12 years old, father's out of the picture. An Oris can only marry with shutza. If they're fully married both cases, then certainly can't break a covenant. Because the father's if not, is the husband any less powerful than the Oris? The answer is this doesn't work. It's because the father's out of the picture. So therefore, our question, what was the question we started with today? If an Oris hears his wife's netter and then he divorces her, that's all he does. He doesn't confirm or break the netter. Is that like confirming or like not? So the Gemara does not posha the shalkin. We try to bring several proofs and we said no proof. So the Gemara, the Ran says, the third of the wide lines in the Ran. Since you were in Pasha Shal, we assume that the netter is confirmed, and you can't break it anymore. You can go to a Taras Nadarim to go to the rabbi, but you can't break it. That's what the Ramban says. If the husband, if the fiance heard about it, the Rav Yomi took it back, you can't break it anymore. No. The Raj says, we were in Posha the Shaila here, but we could be Posha the Shaila from yesterday's Gemara from Shmuel. What did Shmuel say yesterday? Shmuel said, Minon the Oris Achron Mefer Nadarim on yesterday's Daf Hayomi, Shenir Oris Rishon. He brought a proof from the Pasuk, right? He said, even though the first Oris heard about it, how do we know that the latter one could break it? He brings a pasuk for that, and that's shot in the Mishnah. The Mishnah doesn't say near Oris Rishon he heard about it, but the Shmuel says that. Nadar Arusa, and he heard about it. Niskash Yom. So according to Shmuel, you could break it even if he divorced her after he heard about it and he took her back that day. So from Shmuel it is a raya. So and the Ran goes on to say, the Ramban says now you have to go l'chumra, but from Shmuel says you could break it, meaning that gerushin is not like hakam, it's like shtika. And he goes on to say, so why didn't the Gemara bring a proof from Shmuel? Our Gemara brings the answer. The Gemara wanted to bring a proof from a brisa, not from Shmuel. But many times the Gemara tries to bring a proof from a brisa or a Mishnah, and it can't, and it leaves it that way, even though there is a proof from Shmuel. And the Ran brings a nice shot because the Ran says back on Daf Lamed, hey, we had this question, famous question: are Kohanim shluchim didan or shluchim d'shmaya? Are they our messengers or are they shluchim of God? Kohanim do the avoda for us in the Beis Hamikdash. Are they our messengers or not? And the Gemara over there tries to bring proofs both ways from Mishnayos and Brisa, couldn't prove it, even though the Ran points that out in Lamed Hey and Beis Lamed Mouth. He says we're there. We do have a proof though from Rav Huna. Rav Huna says at the end of the day, and it's not brought in our Gemara, but it's brought in the Gemara in Kedushin. What does it say over there? We don't have any proof from a Brisa, but we do have a proof from Rav Huna. Rav Huna says, I'll tell you why they must be shluchim of Hashem, because if they're shluchim of us, how could we appoint somebody to do something we can't do ourselves? We're not Kohanim. None of us here are Kohanim in this room, right? We have a Levi here, but we don't have a Kohen, right? So there's right. So without a Kohen, if we can't do something ourselves, we can't appoint somebody else to do it. Therefore, it must be that the shluchim shmai. So even though sometimes the Gemara has a question, tries to bring proofs, can't bring a proof either way, but there is another svara for it. So here too, we do posha d'shala, but not from the Mishnahs or the Brisas, posha from Shmuel. So at the end of the day, not according to the Ramban says we go l'chumra, but according to the Rashba, he brings down from the Rashba that according to Shmuel, gerushin is not like hakom. It's not like confirming it, but rather it's like being quiet. It's like being quiet. So if he waits a day, then of course it's like a confirmation anyway. But if he take her back that day, so if an oris, you have an oris and a father, right? And the oris heard about it. If the oris didn't hear about it, then there's no question he didn't get divorcing her, is not confirming it. But if he heard about it and he divorced her, is according to the Ramban, you have to go l'chumra. And you say he can't, even if he took her back 5 minutes later that day, he can't break it anymore. According to the Rashba, he could still break it, as we prove from Shmuel.
Why can't we learn from
yeah,
from this last one that if a Baal who has complete control over his wife, it's gerushin is like hakama. We're with an oris, right?
We're not saying gerushin is like that. We're not saying gerushin is like a come over there. The reason over there he can't break it is because when he takes her back, because once he divorced, if he was married before, which way are you looking at? Where the Baal who's married was married in the first case or married in the second case, meaning before he took her back or after he took her back. If he was married to her before when she made the netter, right, and then he divorced her, and then he takes her back, the father's out of the picture. Why? Because he was already married to her. Father's out of the picture. Now, if he takes her back, he's engaged to her. He can't break it on his own. Why? Because there's no father. Father's out of the picture, and an oris can only break it with the father. Oris can't get even though she's a nara, the oris can't break it on his own. It's going back with the father. And if you say that when he took her back, he married her, then he sure can't break it because he's breaking a net they made before this marriage. So either way, it wouldn't work. Now, there's no kal v'chomer here, and we're not saying that a Baal could cannot break a net that when a Baal divorces her, it's like hakam. It's not because of hakam. It's because of it's because of kol. Says the Mishnah on the day. The custom of Talmud was that actual Haisabito Yosef is Yotz Meslo. a man, Talmud Chacham, was marrying off his daughter. Let's say she's 12, up until the age of 12, and he was marrying off his daughter. He tells her, listen, listen, it's a good idea. You're getting out of my house now. I'll tell you what, this is my last chance to break any of your vows. So any neder that you made, I'm breaking it now. They're broken. They're broken. They're automatically broken. And v'chein habal, and the same thing with the husband. If he's a Talmud Chacham, he says, listen, he's engaged to her now. He says, till he gets married to her. Listen, all of them that you made now, I'm breaking it together with the father. The son-in-laws, and the father probably takes his son-in-law as a Talmud Chacham too, right? So he said, I'm breaking it too. Once she gets married to him, and you can't break it because ain't a Baal Mefer b'Kodman, as we said. Why is that? That's based on the pasuk, Michael, of in base Isha Nadara, right? Only then he could break it, but if it was before the base, can't break it. Okay. So now the Ran says one thing. The high Baal, the Kaboy. Okay, we're going to ask about now. I jumped ahead. Let's see the Gemara. Boy Ramachama. Baal Ma'ashiye for below Shmiya. Can a husband break a netter? To only break a netter, we'll see after she made the netter, right? But can he break it without hearing about it? In other words, we say once he hears about it, the clock starts ticking. You have one day, right? But let's say he hasn't heard about it. And he just says, listen, I don't want to take any chances. Any nadarim that you made, I didn't hear about them. But if you did make any, I'm breaking them now. Can that work? That's the question. And it's Lavdafki. The Ran says he's asking about a Baal, but the same thing would be for a father, right? High Baal, the Kaboy Ramacham, Veloshna Orus, Veloshna Baal. Doesn't make a difference if it's a fiance or a Baal, Veloshna Bavia, Bakula Masafgale. Can anybody, can he break, whether we're talking about the fiance, we're talking about a full husband, or we're talking about the father, can you break a netter without hearing about it? Do you say Vishama Isha, when her husband heard about it, Dafki, he had to hear about it? Oh, Lav Dafki, just saying that's normally what happens. When do you break a netter? You break a netter after you heard about it. If you didn't hear about it, what are you breaking, right? You're not breaking anything, right? But let's say you want to come along in our Mishnah, when we say that Tamid Chacham, what do they do? Or if it's the father or the husband, they say, listen, before you leave the house, before you get married, I'm breaking all your nadarim. Does that work or not? Amarava, so let's bring him right from our Mishnah. Oh, so he's just saying, in case you broke any, maybe that's right. In case you made any, nadarim, I'm breaking it now. That's the question. So Tashma, Derech Tamid Chachamim, our Mishnah said, so before he sends her out of the house, before she gets married, Omerle tells her, Kol Nadam should dart b'toch basi. Any Nadam should dart, not the dart. You got to be careful with Lashon. Should dart b'toch basi. Any Nadam that you made, Harei Mufarin. That's what our Mishnah said. Our Mishnah said, he says, listen, any Nadam that you made, I'm breaking it now. Below Shama, but he hasn't heard him out. He hadn't heard anything. He just said, any Nadam that you may have made, I'm breaking now. But he didn't hear any. The answer is L'chi Shama Huda Mefer. Oh, he says maybe the pshat in the Mishnah is he tells her that I'm breaking it, and then when he hears about it, she says, "Oh yeah, that reminds me, I did make a netter," and then he breaks it again. If that's the case, if he didn't hear about it, why would he say? Why would he say, if you made any nadarim, I'm breaking them now? You say no, that doesn't work. It doesn't work. The breaking doesn't work. The canceling doesn't work until he actually heard about it. He says what he's saying is, this is when he heard about it, he'll break it. So why did he say, in case you made any? The answer is that the derech of a Talmud Chacham is to investigate, to push her, to check it out carefully and say, did you make any nadarim? It's like saying, I'm breaking any nadarim that you may have made until today. To jog her memory and say, oh yeah, I did forbid myself from eating oranges or eating apples or something like that. And then once he hears about it, he breaks it again. That's what the Gemara wants to say. A little bit of a dochek, right? Because it doesn't sound that way from the Mishnah. That's what we'll see. We'll see later on. The psak is it doesn't have to be about Tashma. Me safer. Look at the safer. Same thing. Before he takes her in as a full wife. It's from going from fiance to husband. He tells her, I'm breaking any nadarim. Kondom should have died. She goes away. So here again, you see, he didn't hear him yet. Here also he means this when I hear about it. Now, there's a round brings out a different gears over here. The Pasha gear says l'chishama. When he heard about it, in he's just trying to jog her memory. The same idea that he's saying any dharm that you may have made, I'm breaking. He says, oh yeah, I made this netter. Okay, once he hears about it, then it's broken, but it's not really broken before. The Ran's gears of l'chishamana is like when I hear about it. What he's saying effectively is I'm breaking it now, and it's going to be chal later on when I break it. Now, how does that work? How can it be chal later on if it doesn't work now? So by the father, Ein Chanami, you can't say that because the father it can't be chal after she's married, after he marries her off, because once she's married to the husband, the father doesn't have any rishus over her. But for the husband, he says, the Ran goes on to say that, where do we say you can't break Bekodman? Because the father's out of the, if the father's out of the picture, and you can't break it anymore, he's out of the picture. He's bringing into her marriage. When you're going from fiance to husband, bring in. Mike, why do we say in a Baal Mefer Bekodman? Because the father's out of the picture. But over here, since the father already broke his share, we're talking about where the father broke his share and the husband broke his, and the fiance broke his share, then it would work. In other words, according to this pshat in the Ran, Hachanami de Omer Lo L'Chishmana means that not when he actually hears about it, he breaks it then, but he could break it now in saying, I'm breaking it now. When I hear about it later on, I'm saying I'm breaking it now, and the cancellation should take effect later on when I hear about it. That's how the Ran learns, according to this gifts of L'Chishmana. But the Pashup Shah we can understand. We don't have to get too complicated. The Pashup Shah is that he breaks it later on. That's all. L'Chishama. In other words, the husband and the father both saying, listen, you're about to get married. If you made any Nadarim, I'm breaking him now. She says, oh yeah, I forbade myself from eating oranges and from going to shul and from doing a few different things there. And he said, then he breaks it. It only works afterwards, even though that's not the pshat, Pashup Pshat in the Mishnahs. We'll see later on that, Tashma, another proof. Homelishta, man tells his wife, Kol Nadarim Shaduri Ad Sha'avim Malkum Ploni. I'm going away on a long trip. Any Nadarim that you make from now during my absence, you'll probably be mad that I didn't leave you any money, and who's going to take care of things when I'm away. Any Nadarim you made, Harein Kayomet, I'm confirming them now. If you make any Nadarim now, I'm confirming them now. Lo Miklum, it's meaningless. You know why it's meaningless? Because you can't confirm something that doesn't exist yet. Doesn't exist. Lo Miklum. Or he says, Harein Mefarm, let's say I'm breaking them. Rav Lezer says it's mufer. Rav, it's broken. Right? Rav says it's mufer. The Chum don't agree, but he says it's broken. I volo shama. How do you say you can break something you didn't hear about it? That's our question. What's our question? What was Rav Chum's question? If a husband or a fiance or a father, can he break something without hearing about it? So here he didn't hear about it yet because it wasn't even done, right? And the Ran explains, the Ran says, we're not just pushing from Reb Lezer, who said what? That it's broken even though you didn't make it. There's no netter yet, so you can't confirm or break something that's not around. But when he made it, she made a netter already. What's our question? There was a netter there already, right? That the daughter, the girl, the wife, fiance, that she made a netter. He didn't hear about it yet. Can he break something he didn't hear about? So you see, right? Because it says, and even the Chacham only disagree in this case because there was no netter yet. He says, any Nadarim you're going to make, right? The Chacham, Rav Lezer says, everybody agrees you can't confirm it. Rav Lezer says you could break it. Chacham don't agree you could break it because it's not here yet. Right? But if it would be here, maybe you could break it, even though you didn't hear about it yet. The same thing, like we said before, he's breaking it when he hears about it. So why is he breaking it now? Why doesn't he just break it when he hears about it later on? Let him break it later on. What is he saying? We're saying, tells his wife, any Nadarim that you make during my absence, I want to cancel them. So he didn't hear about it yet. So how can you see, how does it work? And the Chacham would also agree that if there was a netter there already, that it would work, even though he didn't hear about it. No, the answer is when he hears about it. So why does he have to break it now? Why doesn't he just break it when he hears about it? Maybe I'll be busy at that time. I'll be busy unpacking my clothes and I won't want to do it. Huh? Yeah, like in reserve, right. But he's saying, but the answer, the answer of Gemara each case is that you really can't break it now. You break it late. It's only broken when he hears about it later on. So break it later on. The answer is maybe I'll be busy then and I won't have a chance and I'll be too tired. So I'm doing it now, like I'm reminding myself now. Right. Okay, so now the Gemara brings another proof. Tashma. A man tells a guardian, I'm going on a trip, I'm appointing a guardian. Any Nadarim my wife makes during my absence till I come back, from the time I leave until I come back, hafer, break him. I want you to break those Nadarim. Right? And he breaks them. I think it's broken. Rav says, no, you can't appoint an apotropos or a shliach. Plus it says specifically, Isha, her husband has to hear about it. Isha, the husband has to confirm, the husband has to break it. Amar Rabbi Yosi says, why not? Masin b'chal Torah kula shluch shlom kamos. The Gemara learns on Kedushin, beginning the second paragraph, famous Gemara, Daf Hayomi over there, that shluch shlom kamoso can appoint somebody else to do it. Even Rabbi Yoshia only disagrees here. Mishum the Xeris Akasav, it's Xeris Akasav. Each you command to be shepherd of the husband. No, here Dafka the husband has to do it. But otherwise, you would say that the apotropos could do it. The husband didn't hear about it. You'll tell me if the apotropos hears about it, it's like the husband hears about it? No, because if the husband didn't hear about it, how can you appoint somebody to? If you have to hear about it, right? How can you say that the apotropos hearing about it is like the husband hearing about it? The husband didn't hear about it. He can't appoint a proof. If the husband has to hear it before he can break it, so if the husband didn't hear it, how can he appoint the apotropos to do it? That's what the Ran explains. So therefore, over here, what do you say? He didn't hear about it. So the Gemara is saying that's a hachanami. The Omerla, he told the Lechishamana when I hear about it, either like the Ran says in his complicated shot that he's saying it now and I'm going to break it later on. He's a full husband over here. We're not talking about a fiance. A full husband, where he says, I'm breaking it now, and it should be chal when I hear about it later on. Or the pashut, if you have the gears of l'chishama, when he hears about it, I'll break it, mefala. So l'chishama lefa. Why doesn't he break it later on when he hears about it? Usafa dum matrina. Maybe I'll be busy at that time, and I'll be occupied, and I won't want to do it. So why does he appoint a shliach in general? Because the Ran asks these questions. Why does he bother appointing a shliach? Because maybe he'll have charata. I'll be angry. I'm going to point the shliach to take care of it. So why doesn't he do it right now? He doesn't want to do it right now because maybe she'll make the other nadarim that he is happy with. The point over here is that the question of Rav Meir Shapiro was, can you break a netter without hearing about it? But we're talking about a netter that was made already, right? If the netter wasn't there, like in the future, we're saying that doesn't work because if he doesn't hear about it, he has to hear about it. And even if you say that doesn't have to actually hear about it, he has to be around. He can't break a netter that's not around yet. So that was our question. We tried to bring a proof each case that we said, you see, obviously that you don't have to hear about it. And we said, no, maybe it means that he did hear. The netter will be broken once he hears about it. However you understand that. So, but the Gemara is not posher the shal, the same thing. So the Ran says over here. So what's the maskana then? What's the maskana? So where's Ran? The Ran says, so the Gemara says, maybe that's I'm in the beginning of the third line of the wide lines in the Ran on the left side, not the widest lines, the middle lines were a little bit wide. Under the Gemara, it says, even though the Gemara did not decide the question of here, the Gemara there is a ruling based on the question that we're going to raise on tomorrow's daf. The Baal Mefer below Shmiyu Kaparsha B'Siyat D'Shmaya. In other words, even though the Gemara was not posted of Shiloh here, but the Gemara we're going to see that the question is decided from what we're going to later on that the husband can break it without hearing about it. So therefore, in our mission, now we come back, we don't have to give these logic answers. But the Gemara mission said, the Talmud Chacham, the father or the husband, before the girl gets married, said, listen, any nadarim that you made are broken. He didn't hear about it. So he could do that anyway. As long as the nadarim are there already extant at that time, he can break it even though he didn't actually hear the netter. All right, we'll pick it up tomorrow from Boy Ram Barchama, where we are here in Ayin Gimel. Have a good day.